G'day, it's Jane from Thread My Bobbin. Welcome if you're new, and thanks for coming back if you've watched my videos before. Today's video is just going to be a bit of a look at some of the different projects I've been working on over the last few weeks while life here has been a bit unsettled. There's no major quilt finishes, just bits and pieces of projects that were easy for me to work on. The two things that happened were, one was that our sweet old cat Lily, who was 22, just came to the end of her time really. So fortunately I was able to keep her at home and nurse her here. So yeah, I haven't really felt like making videos, but today I'm ready to make videos and get back to things. The other thing was I had a bit of a flare-up of arthritis, so I haven't been able to do hand sewing or sew for too long. So I've just been working on small things. So I'm going to show you what they are. What I did start a new project actually. What I was looking for was just something scrappy that I could just sit down and enjoy without too much concentration. I found this so relaxing. I've had Jen Kingwall's pattern for a couple of years now, of Long Time Gone, and I thought this is great. My scrap bins are getting too full and I actually revamped them, which I'll show you later. I'm just going to sit and make Long Time Gone blocks because they're enjoyable and there were no stress. Now I actually changed up some of the blocks, but here's what I've got so far, and this is all just out of my scrap bin. That one. So I like that one so much that I ended up making two of it, because again I want to make this big enough to fit a queen size bed, and so I often just make a few extra blocks as I go along. But this quilt will all just be out of my scrap bins. And I really enjoyed these little bow tie blocks. This block I really like. Turned out really well. I think a whole quilt made out of these would be absolutely lovely, just completely scrappy. So, and these are just little log cabins out of scraps. And it was good because my scrap bins I actually changed, so they're all full and they need to be used up. But that's where I'm up to with Long Time Gone. That's a picture of it. And a great way to use up scraps or even just orphan blocks. That would just be a bit of an ongoing background project. That one. Now, the other thing that I also really enjoyed was my potato chip bin was full. And again, just putting these together and making, I just made them in different colours, just making the potato chips a 2.5 inch by 4.5 inch block. And some of these were from a potato chip block swap that I participated in a couple of years ago, and some from my own scraps. Wow. And so again, these are just really easy to make, and I'll just keep you know, again make a few when those bins fill up again, and just eventually it'll get big enough for a quilt. And I really like this one. It's that kind of sewing that's just kind of very soothing to do. You know, you don't have to think about it too much, but you have to think about it a little bit. I also made a whole heap of toiletry bags, and I've sent them off and donated them, but I did make a little video clip which I'll play in a minute. But what I did was I took fat quarters, cut them into 4, sewed a little bit of it's very light interfacing onto them. Sorry, ironed a little bit of interfacing onto them, and then I quilted the pieces And I have a whole box of zippers here to use up. And you can see I've just got a batch here, and then when I felt like I could just sit and sew the next step. So they're all in various stages. As you can see, the pieces are already quilted. And for when I was doing the back, I was able to use up lots of wadding that was left over. I find I have that strip down the side. So quite a few of the pieces I didn't have to join at all, like the strip was wide enough. And then I have them here, you know, when I felt like I needed 5-10 minutes of sewing, I could just come up and just do some straight sewing, which is mostly what I've done for the last few weeks. And I have got a little clip I made before I posted them off that I'll just play for you. And these are little toiletry bags that I've made, just quilted the pieces and then aligned them. And they're just actually a fat quarter has made 4. I can just cut a fat quarter into 4. Sorry, the fat quarter makes 2, and then these ones are the fat quarter cut into 4, but with the box corners, so they will stand up. And that's using up quite a few zippers. I get my zippers in bulk from AliExpress. Yeah, so I had fun making those. I've got a lot more cut out, and I'll send them off to a charity today. Now, when I decided to clean out my top drawer, because I just needed to do a bit of tidying up, and I think I've shown the parts of these before. These are just 5-inch square I Spy kids lap quilts, and I make the tops, and then I donate them to a charity, and they finish them up and donate them to kids with cancer. So they, you know, might go to Ronald McDonald House or specific kids. And so I thought, they've been sitting there for ages, and I finished them all, got them all done. And so these are just all waiting to be posted. They're all just the same, just 5-inch squares made into lap quilts. And I'll leave the details. It's a great charity. It's Quilts Against Cancer, Comfort Quilts Against Cancer. It's an Australian charity. You can nominate someone you know that has cancer, is undergoing treatment. You can nominate them for a quilt, or if you want to make quilt tops for them, you can make quilt tops. You just need to stick to their specifications in sizes. So I'll leave their link down below. It's a really great charity. And I also had this, which this just has to have the binding put on. This is like a kid's playmat. And as you can see, I kind of really do like colour. Again, this just needed to be finished joining squares together, a little bit of quilting, and I'll put some binding on it. But how I make these, they're very simple. So when I'm making this sort of thing, I just take this is I think a 10-inch square. This is a 9-inch square, but it doesn't matter about the size, whatever size you like. Now this fabric is a little bit thick, but you could use you know, something lighter, but it still works. And I just sew a square, or in this case I've got squares, but it can be any shape fabric, to the center. You know, and I love these bug prints that I had years ago. So I just sew one to the center, and then, you know, you just pick up another square or another strip and just lay it on there and sew it, fold it down, then you lay another strip, and then you just cut them down. So as you can see, I've got these all in various stages of being made. And years ago I did a lot of children's sewing, but I'm not doing as much nowadays. So I also cleaned out that top drawer, which was kids' fabrics, and posted a lot of fabric. I posted one parcel off to another lady who sews for the same charities, and then I saw online at remoteopshops.org, which is another fantastic charity, that there were some schools there that had sewing clubs, and also some places that wanted fabric. So again, I went through some of my fabrics and posted off some fabric. So I feel like it's been a productive cleaning up time. I feel like I've reached a stage where I just have too much stuff, and sometimes I wish I had a bit less. So that was good. So once I put that binding on that, and they will all get sent off to various places. What else? Oh, I also had found a packet of 5 patches, and so I just this is going to be a disappearing 9 patch quilt. Again, one of my absolute favorite patterns. So I thought, oh, that's easy. I can just, you know, wander in when I need a little break and sew a few squares together. And so I've got quite a few sewn together. So I will make that into a disappearing 9 patch. And I'll put this dark square in the middle because that will be the blocks once they're cut. Once the blocks are cut, they'll look like that. And so that little dark square in the middle will be like that. I might even make a video. I've kind of got a queue of videos I need to catch up on. So that was another little task that I got out of the way. I also, years ago, when I first started quilting, I made some quilts that probably weren't the greatest, but this was when I was learning like just strip quilting, and I had these colours that I, you know, there's just a bit, I'm not so sure about the colours, but the lady that was teaching it was on a video course through Craftsy, and she's like, just put all the colours together. So I got all the oranges, blues and yellows. This was a quilt top. It hadn't been quilted, but it was just a quilt top. It was incredibly bright, but I really didn't like the quilt top at all, and so it just sat there. It was just a lap quilt. It was kind of that bad I didn't even want to donate it. So what I did was cut it all up. I'm thinking of Bonnie Hunter here, who says if you don't like fabric, cut it small. I've cut it into these size squares. I still don't know if I like it, but it felt good to actually just move it on instead of opening the drawer, you know, when you see it and you think, oh. Whereas now I'm like, oh, okay, I'll sit with them for a while and I might be able to turn that into a quilt, or maybe even a bag. Actually, I could turn that into some tote bags. I'm not sure. But yeah, so I got that, cut that whole top down into these to be made into something else. So it's been good. I haven't felt like sewing a lot, but you know, as you know, sewing's kind of good when you feel stressed. So it's been nice just to do straight sewing, but actually feel like I accomplished something. The other thing that I did is in my scrap video, you might remember that I used these kind of shoebox size containers. They're made of plastic for all my scraps. Well, what happened was I dropped something on one of them and it cracked, and then I cut my finger on it, and I thought these are probably, I don't know, 10, 15 years old. Like, they're getting quite brittle. And so I went onto Amazon and I got these. They're just like a solid plastic with a little handle, but they stack really well. There's no wasted space, and they fit perfectly in my cupboard size spaces that I've got. So I actually could fit a lot more in the cupboard. So I spent the time going through. I've emptied all of these containers. This one is for threads, but I've emptied all the scrap containers and put them all into these containers. They are all full because they're a little bit smaller, and it has saved me a lot of room. So that was another little task I got done in between looking after Lily. So last but definitely not least, I just want to talk about the Dear Jane quilt. So the Dear Jane quilt is quite famous. It's a Civil War quilt made in 1863 by Jane Sickle. And this book was written by Brenda Papadakis, I hope I said that right, who studied the quilt and ended up putting all the blocks in this book. The blocks don't have the patterns. You literally have the picture of the quilt, and then, you know, it's up to you to decide how you want to make it. So it's kind of been a quilt I've always thought, oh, one day I hope I'm good enough to make that, you know, I'd love to do it. Now, the other week, I was in the chat, in Deb the Pug Mama's Saturday morning chat, well, Saturday morning for me, and which is always a great chat. If you don't follow Deb, you should. She's a lot of fun, and she's making an absolutely beautiful quilt at the moment. But Lisa from Awkward Quilter, who also has a great channel, had talked about doing the Dear Jane quilt next year and asked if anyone else was interested. So I thought, yep, now's the time. So there's quite a group of people that are interested in making Dear Jane in 2026. If you go and have a look at Lisa's channel, I'm sure she'll put information up there about it, and you'll see other channels doing the quilt. I'm going to do it, and so I bought the book. I was very fortunate to go on eBay and find it in Australian dollars with postage. I paid $55 for it. It's a lot more expensive new from what I've seen. Yeah, so that's on the plan for 2026. I'll talk more about how I'm going to put it together and the ways I'm going to do it when I get closer to that. But this has been great. I've really enjoyed learning about the quilt, looking at the pattern, and I'm very excited to be thinking about doing it, and it's been a lovely distraction. The other thing is that it's made me realize I really need to get through my UFOs so that I can focus on Dear Jane next year, because it'll be a big commitment. So my plan for the rest of this year is to really hook into those UFOs and try and get them out of the way, finished, decisions made. I also know I'm behind on the Blockheads 6 videos. I'm going to catch up on those over the next week or so. Let me know if you're interested in Dear Jane, if it's something you've thought about. And also thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, you might like, share, leave me a comment below. Thanks, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.